Hi there, it's Football-Oranje and it's time for an Eredivisie season preview. We're going to do it in two parts this year. Just like last year, we're going to have this podcast devoted to who we think will be amongst the top sides in the Eredivisie this season, who we think is going to win the league and be amongst his European positions. And there'll be a separate full Eredivisie season preview podcast, which will be on all our platforms to listen to, where we'll be talking about where we think each of the clubs will be finishing in the league and talking about each of the clubs. But this one is devoted to purely the top teams and how we think they'll get on this season. Where better place to start, Mike, than Ajax, the defending champions? And they're going to be, I think, defending their title this season. I don't know what you're thinking there, Mike. I haven't actually genuinely asked you because this is what this conversation is all about, who you think is going to win the league this season. I'm guessing by reaction that you think PSV are going to be running Ajax really close this season.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very exciting title race this year. I think it's going to be two top teams going at it for all the whole season. I don't think yesterday's game was an indicator of how it's going to go as a whole. But I think yesterday's game proved that PSV and Ajax are on the same level and it can go hell for leather in the games between each other. And I think it's going to be an exciting campaign. I think PSV are stronger than last year, which is a strange thing to say after them losing Malen and Dumfries. But I think that Schmidt's got his formation right now and they're playing in a very positive way, whereas Ajax, I think, they've not added as much to their squad as I think they should have by now. I know that they're looking for another attacker. I think the squad's maybe one or two players short of where it needs to be to push on from last season. I think Berghuis is a decent signing, but I think if you're going to win the title and only have Sebastian Haller as a striker with Danilo as his backup, that's a bit of a worry. For me, I know Sebastian Haller can be a bit hit and miss, and if they then decide to go with Tadic for the middle for the season, I think they're maybe attackers short of where they want to be. I know Ten Hag says that they're not where they should be fitness-wise just yet. I think that's true, and they've got a couple of players still to come back with, like Anthony, still not back yet, Alvarez still not back yet. So I think yesterday's game was a bit of a wake-up call for Ajax, but I think it's going to be a very, very tight title race this year, and it's going to be a flip of the coin.
I really hope it's a tight title race too. It's going to be the two of them, and I agree with you that it's going to be Ajax and PSV. The game you alluded to yesterday, Ajax losing 4-0 to PSV in the Johan Cruijffschaal, which is like the Community Shield, I guess, of the Netherlands. They gave us an insight as to how the season might go, but I think with Ajax not being at their best yet, that was the best you'll see from PSV for sure. They won 4-0. They had all their players available. They had no injuries. That's the PSV that we're going to be seeing this season, and more about that then later for sure. But Ajax, they have many more gears to go yet in terms of the competition itself. I mean, like that game meant little to them. With the PSV, I'm sure that meant more with the players and the manager and wanting to put out a statement. They're missing so many players at the moment who are competing in the Euros and the Olympics. So there's many more things that Ajax can still do. They're still going to add another striker or an attacking player to their lineup too. We'll wait and see who that is. Ale is a quality player, and in Eredivisie is going to score plenty of goals. He's a big contender for top scorer this season. And the difference for me between Ajax and PSV is that Ajax have the squad depth, which PSV don't. If you lose a couple of those players out of the PSV lineup, it's a very different PSV side that hasn't got quite as much quality. Ajax have got this depth, which we won't see for a couple of months yet. They won't be playing at their best yet for a little while. I wonder whether people might be deceived actually into seeing Ajax struggle for a little bit to begin with at the start of the season and now think that PSV are going to win the league. It's going to be really close, and I really hope it's a tight title race. And I think if it was me being unbiased, being biased here, I'd want PSV to go and win the league because it's a little bit different and it changes the league makeup. But for me, I still think come the end of the season, months away from now, I think it will be Ajax that will win the league. They've made a few signings over the summer. You mentioned Berghuis, he's come in. He's going to add goals to the side. And Gorta and Pasveer are two goalkeepers that come in to replace Onana. What have you made of their business as a whole, Mike? And they've still got this extra attacker to come in. We don't know quite where they're going to fit in or who it is. but they haven't lost anyone major, and that's a big deal, right?
Yeah, I think that their attacker shop. I think that there's still business to be done. I think that transfer market's just going to start getting moving now. There's a lot of big money moves that are just about to be sealed, and I think that will trigger other clubs to then put in some offers. And maybe Ajax will be one of the clubs that gets a couple offers for some of their players. But David Neres is one that I thought would go. I thought Nicolas Tagliafico would go. So both of them are there. I think the Ajax are probably waiting to see if they both go before they then sanction some other moves. Because if Tagliafico goes, they're probably going to need a new left back, whether that's Wijndal that they could go for, or even in the last week they've been linked to Malacia as well, of Feyenoord. But yeah, I think they're sort of waiting to see what happens with a couple of their players before they then sanction other moves. But I think that the goalkeeper situation is good. They've got three strong contenders for the number one jersey. I think PSV is a great goalkeeper. He was on form for Vitesse last season, and I think Stick Ellenberg did great last year when he came in for Anana. So I think they're sorted goalkeeper-wise. I think Berghuis is a great sign-in for the money they paid for him. He's Eredivisie level. He's very high Eredivisie level, and now he needs to kick on and show that he can be a Champions League level player because he wants to be that, and he wants to be pushing on the door of the Netherlands squad. So he needs to now step up and start performing on the Champions League, and we see if he can handle that. And yeah, they've still got the likes of Anthony and Alvarez to come back to bolster the squad. Gravenberg is still there. Alvarez is still there, even though Stade Rennes are putting in bids of reportedly 20 to 25 million around that area for him. Martinez is still there. Mizraoui has been linked to move away, but he's still there. So I think that a lot of the key players will remain. I think if anyone's going to go, it'll be Neres, which I think they'd be quite happy to say bye to him at this moment. And Tagliafico, and if Tagliafico goes, to then enter the market for someone as a replacement.
Yeah, the market is there for them to still grab a player or two. The squad unity is going to be very strong because they are still the same set of players. I think there's a couple of things that could be important for Ajax. One of them is the European run. Once they have all their players fit, they'll be a really strong side again, and they have aspirations to get far in the Champions League. If that doesn't go well for them, that might derail their season a little bit, like it did 2 years ago. Remember them going out quite early in the Champions League group stages. Not early, sorry, but they got knocked out by Atalanta with that poor defeat at home. And but they also might, for example, go really far in Europe, and it might derail their season another way because I want to concentrate on the Champions League if they start going far in that. And if PSV are purely focusing on doing well in the league by that point, it could make the difference. We don't know though, because PSV still might be qualifying for the Champions League, the Europa League at the time of us talking right now. So still many factors that are still to be decided. But what is true is that they are going to be going neck and neck for the title. I think something else that might be important around Christmas time, they've got some tough fixtures. Around the same time of the end of the group stages for the Champions League, they play RZ at home in December, Feyenoord away in the Klassiker, and then a game against Fortuna Sittard. Then in the new year, they start with Utrecht away, PSV away, before having some tricky home fixtures. So you could point to that in the fixture list and say that that's going to be tricky too. What's putting you off Ajax though, Mike? Is it something amongst the camp which you think might change? Are you doubting Erik ten Hag's managerial abilities, or do you think that that PSV are this much stronger this year?
I think PSV are stronger than last year. Ajax, I think, are right now. It's more the same from last season. I think that if they don't add another attacker, and even if they brought in, say, Steven Bergwijn, does that really change the squad that much from what it was last year?
I suppose not.
Probably not. So I think it's much the same. And yeah, they won the league with a canter last year, but PSV kept slipping up after, PSV started the season really well, and it looked like it was going to be neck and neck, and then Ajax just ran away with it. Whereas I think this year that PSV are a lot stronger, so I think that it's going to be a lot tighter. And I think that you're right with Ajax wanting to go far in the Champions League and put a marker down there. I don't know if this, just looking at the squad right now and the players that are there, I don't go, oh, that's a Champions League contender to go out the group stages of the Champions League. Not for me right now, I don't. I think they're a strong side. They can do well in Europe if they get the right group draw. But I don't think this Ajax side is as strong as it could be, and I think it's one or two signings short. If Edson Alvarez has a poorer season than he did last year, then they could struggle. If David Klaassen isn't as important as he was last year, they could struggle. If Daley Blind a year on isn't as strong as he was defensively last year, then there's just a few question marks about Ajax going forward, and I think they need one or two players just to bolster it and strengthen the squad and just lift the atmosphere as well, because I think that Ajax fans are expecting one or two deals to come in. I think that Berghuis is a good signing, but I think they're expecting more this summer, and we'll see if they get that in the next 3 weeks. I know Mark Overmars will be working hard on signing at least one more attacker, and let's see who they get, because I think that last year they had Howard up front and they had Brobbey on the bench as somebody to come on and really change games. If it's not working with Howard up front, who did he bring on to really change a game up front? Who's on that bench is going to go on and rattle some feathers? Not really anyone for me. So I think that's the kind of player that they're missing.
Fair enough. I think that in the Eredivisie they won't find too many problems with that. If you bring in someone fresh, that might make a difference. But it's in Europe where there might be more questions raised. But interesting, Mike, and I'll ask you about PSV in just a moment. There's a couple of people that are watching live and want to pass some things. John said, good to see you streaming on the upcoming season. Thank you, John. We will be doing a full podcast season preview for the Eredivisie for every single team in the league. So if you're watching along and you're thinking, oh, why don't we talk about the other teams yet? We will. A separate podcast. And someone watching thinks that Ajax will win the league this season. But I've seen a few people already predicting Ajax. I've seen some people predicting PSV. Mainly fans that aren't Ajax fans predicting PSV to win the league. But this is really building up some sort of interest in the league again, because their Ajax were so dominant. They still look to dominant, but PSV have got some really talented players coming through. If you are watching this, do comment who you think will win the league this season. And if you're an Ajax fan, just before we move on to PSV, do keep your eyes open on the website, because there'll be I'm talking to somebody who is an expert about Ajax youth players, and he's going to let us know who the best players coming into the Ajax youth academy are. And same for Feyenoord with the Feyenoord experts. If you're a Feyenoord fan, keep listening. We're going to be talking about them very soon. But PSV, without further ado, they've been very busy this summer. Many significant signings have come in, but also Marlon has left. But it's like no one really cares about that, because even though he was that important last season for PSV with his goals to rescue a really poor season under Roger Schmidt, it doesn't seem to matter with Cody Gakpo and Noni Madueke really stepping it up on the wings. What has changed over the summer? Is it the chance maybe just for Schmidt to work with his players? Because he never really got so much chance last season, did he? Because he had all these ideas to put in. He wants to change some players in amongst his squad. And with it being so fast and furious, Wednesday, Saturday, or whatever it is that they were playing, he maybe didn't get a chance to impose what he wanted on his squad. Now he's had that chance. It looks like they're a force to reckon with. The Champions League qualifiers have looked excellent for PSV. They're scoring all sorts of goals.
Yeah, I think Schmidt's changed it from the 4-2-2-2 to the 4-2-3-1, and that's worked really well. And I think that Madueke is the one that is stepping it up. I think that he was a really talented player last year, maybe not get as much of a look in as he wanted to, because Daniel Malen was there and because of the formation that Schmidt wanted to play. But now he is a key man, and he's going to start every game for PSV, and look what he's done so far in the season already, and he scored twice against Ajax. Yesterday, 2 excellent goals, and I think that he's a player that you look at and think that he's going to make a difference this year for PSV. And I think all over the pitch, PSV are looking good. I think Ramalho's been a great signing for them. I think he's looked very strong in his opening few games, and then Owen looks all right, but then he's got Jordan Teze as well, 2 solid right backs to replace Denzel Dumfries, who, he's still not away yet, but he will go pretty soon. In the midfield, they've got rid of Rosario, who at times last season was a liability in the midfield, I think. I know a lot of people say that he was underrated, but alongside Sangare, it didn't really work very well. I think that Van Hinkel and Sangare are a much better suited partnership with Götze and Gakpo, Madueke and Zahavi in front. And just as a base, that is a very, very strong starting 11 for an Eredivisie side with Buscaglia and Max as well. And I don't think they're done on the transfer market yet. I think they're going to go out once Denzel Dumfries goes to Inter, which could be soon now that they have the Lukaku money coming in. I think he'll go to Inter soon, and that'll free up some funds for PSV to go sign another couple of players. I know that they want another striker, whether that's Luke de Jong or somebody else, and they also want another midfielder as well. So as well as them to coming in, that'll add to the squad depth because you've already got on the bench Teze is right back. You've got David Proper for the midfield, and I've probably been critical of him so far, but Jordi Vitesse, he's got a great goal yesterday. If he kicks on, then he's another attacking option on the bench as well. So I think they do have a lot of depth, and they have a young striker in Fode Fofana coming through. But I think if they add one or two more players before the transfer window shuts as well, then they go up there, and their squad depth will be on par with Ajax.
It's interesting you say that. I'm still not convinced. That's why. Are you choosing PSV to win the league this season, Mike?
Yeah, I've got PSV ahead of Ajax.
So I'm still doubtful, and I'm still thinking Ajax because of that squad depth. I'm not convinced that PSV have got that. If Madueke is injured and Gakpo is having a poor game, the replacements, are they really going to be enough? If they were away at RZ, are they then going to change the game? That's something I'm less convinced of. If Zahavi's injured, they haven't yet got a replacement strike who's up to a level to carry the side and try and nick a goal. However, Van Ginkel really looks like, despite all of his injuries he's had in his career, an absolute class player. I think especially in Europe, you're going to see that. He just carries this experience which you wouldn't expect him to have. No wonder he's been given the captain's armband by Schmidt, because he obviously believes in him to play the way that he wants to play. And him in front of Sangare midfield is a massive difference compared to last season. Sangare can do what he does best, deep in midfield. Van Ginkel can do all of the things that he can do in midfield just ahead of him. Then obviously Götze, yeah, wow, he's looking good ahead of a new season. And David Proper, he's going to get some games. I wonder where though at the moment. But it's good, of course, to have that option that he can come into midfield if there's a problem. When he came off the bench in his first game, I thought he looked absolute quality. So he's someone who you can keep an eye on this season. I think overall the business is very good. I think Mwene, if he's going to be the starting right back, could be an issue. He's not looked great, I don't think, in the qualifiers. But if Teze comes in, that will be an improvement. I just wonder whether in the Eredivisie, Teze is going to be attacking enough against some of the Eredivisie outfits where you need to be up and down the right wing like Dumfries used to. And also Joel Drummond in goal is a very good goalkeeper. He needs to obviously step it up and cut out the mistakes that he does from time to time and mature into someone who can be on the fringes of a Dutch national team. But that's just my thoughts on PSV. Any final thoughts on them, Mike?
Yeah, I think just watch the space over the next 3 weeks, because I do think that they are going to add more players. I think that they've got the money coming in to go to the transfer market, and I think they will sign another midfielder and another attacker at least, and they will probably try and add some depth. And you've got Ihataren probably on his way out as well, so yeah, there's some gaps to fill, and I think they will in the next couple of weeks. But I think it's just an exciting time to be a PSV fan. I think that Madueke just looks incredible so far, and then you've got Gakpo as well, and Götze alongside them. I think that those three as an attacking force are going to be a joy to watch all season, and I think that if Schmidt gets his tactics right and to do well, then I think that the title will be heading to Eindhoven. And I'm going to be very intrigued to see how they can do up against Benfica. If it is Benfica that they get, it looks very likely it's going to be PSV Benfica for a place in the Champions League. And I think that's going to be an excellent tie over 2 legs.
Yeah, at the moment they're still a fresh side, and you can scout them as much as you like, but these players haven't been together too much as a unit, and I think that they could surprise Benfica at this stage of the season, and they could get through to the Champions League group stages. Would do a lot for the club with money and reputation of the players of this season. Yeah, exciting times for PSV, and I've definitely gone for them being second place. But really good that we disagree on the winners of the title, Mike. I don't think we've done that for a few years now. That shows how close it's going to be. We need to talk about Feyenoord next, I think, because they are the big boys at the top as well. For both of us, not within top two contention. Someone has commented on live. Ogatide says, "Any hope for Feyenoord?" And for me, I don't think so. However, I mean, as I speak today, they've just beaten Atletico Madrid in a friendly. Friendly's a friendly, and they did look a bit below average when they played Drita in the Europa Conference League. Again, there's a long season ahead, but you just sort of take these little signs, these little snippets that you see, and you think that this side has got a little bit of potential, but is low on quality for me. A side that I think won't even finish within the top three. More on that later as to where I think they'll finish. But with some of the players gone, Arne Slot's come in, of course. He's had to do like a massive squad turnaround. 10 players around about that much have left. And they brought in a few players such as Alireza Humbach from Brighton. Was a flop in England, but was amazing with RZ. So where does that leave him? Will he score the goals like Berghuis used to? He's obviously left for Ajax. Pedersen is a right back. He seems okay, quite a stable player, but doesn't do much going forward. Hustil has looked amazing since he's coming on loan from Russia. Seems to be playing as a false nine at the moment, rather than final signing a new striker. Still waiting for them to do that. And Trollner is a new centre-back from Austria. So this is obviously the highest level he's played at in his career, only having played in Austria before. They've also got a bunch of youngsters around the first team squad who probably will be like the second choices this season. But for me, still they're lacking quality. What are your thoughts, Mike?
It's difficult to tell. I think that Slot's a great choice for manager. I think that his ways are going to take a little time to settle in.
Agreed.
In the squad that had Dick Advocat last year, and I think Dick Advocat's appointment was one that a lot of Feyenoord fans will look at with gritted teeth and say that he got him into Europe in the end, but that wasn't a successful period last season, and I think his management wasn't great for some of the players. And I think that Slot's a fresh start, fresh ideas, and he's come in with the idea of bringing in fresh young talent that Feyenoord need, because Feyenoord's budget is nowhere near that of Ajax and PSV because of some mismanagement over the last few years. They've had players that have been able to sell for big money that they didn't, and it's come back to cost them. If you look at Jorgensen leaving for, I think it's a free this year, when they could have sold him for about 20 million to Newcastle 2 seasons ago. And there's players like that over and over again. Berghuis leaving for just a tiny amount as well for a player of his quality is mismanagement on Feyenoord's side. And I think that Slot's been given the reins now to change it around, and I think he will. I think that he's got a really, really talented group of youngsters coming through. Milambo, the 16-year-old, looks top quality. They've got Denzel Hall. He's a young fullback who looks really, really good. Hartjes is another midfielder, and then they've got Banis up front. These are the sort of players that need to give game time to. Walter Berger as well, whether he slots in as a ball-playing centre-back now, or if he stays in midfield, I think he's another one that can push on under Arne Slot, when he's not done that under Advocat or even on his loan period at Sparta last year. I think they've got a good squad. I think it's good enough for third. I think they will take third in the table. I think they've got another couple of positions to fill. I think they will sign another striker. Because right now, if they start the season with Brian Linson, Yahamakas, and Sinisterra as a front three with Gus Tillon behind as a false nine, then they'll struggle for goals. But if they add another centre forward, and there's one that keeps getting linked from Sporting Lisbon, who could come in, but they need goals in the side. I don't think Bosniak is the answer just yet. I don't think Banis is the answer just yet. If they could add that in the next few weeks, then they'll be set. But the big worry for me is if one of their centre-backs gets injured, then they have no cover apart from Ramon Hendricks. Because if Leroy Fair plays a centre-back for any period of time, then they will struggle. So I think they're looking short if a couple of key players do get injured. But I think that this side is good enough for third, and I think they will take it. And hopefully they can get Gertruida back from injury as soon as possible, because I think he'll be a key player if he stays for the rest of the season.
Good little analysis there, Mike, of everything that's going on with Feyenoord at the moment. Slot coming in could be really good next season when he's in his sort of second year in charge. That they said, and they give the new coach a year, especially if there's a lot of changes, and then second year you expect a lot more. I think fans need to give Slot some patience, and that's why I think this season they might be fourth position. They are going to struggle with their having lots of pacey players playing behind. If a side like RZ, for example, who look like they're going to play lots of pacey strikers up front this season, are playing the counter attack, I think Feyenoord are going to be really scuppered by that. Slot wants to play a high line, and these defenders aren't that pacey. Here Trauder coming back. Is he going to play it right back? Assume so. Could also fill in at centre half. Ramon Hendricks is 20-year-old centre-back who played really well at Breda last season. I think he could be a decent replacement for Nessie if he's injured. Because Slot likes to have a left-footed defender on the left side and then a right on the right side for his way of playing. Yeah, Leroy Foe, I never want to see him at centre-back ever again. That was disastrous. That was in the Europa Conference League. And up front, they've got Sinisterra, Linson. These kind of players need to step up and score lots of goals this season regularly. I don't see it happening enough for them to get enough wins throughout the season to really get close to this top two. That's why I think they might struggle at times. I don't know. I'm not convinced by them yet, but I think in future when these young players come through, they could become something else and they could really start to challenge again. So the future is definitely looking bright for them. And like I said, I'm talking to a Feyenoord expert really soon, and we'll be talking about the best players in the Feyenoord youth academies. Keep your eyes out for that. But this season, I don't see them winning enough games. I don't see them challenging Ajax and beating them or beating PSV. But these are famous last words, and someone could pull this up in a few months' time when they've won at De Kuip and they've put pressure on Ajax. But I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I think the jury's out on Feyenoord. That's definitely the way to talk about it. But I think Gastel is a good signing. I think the midfield is decent with Kocha if he steps up this season. This is a big year for him. The big cards have been apparently circling in the past couple of years, but now he needs to prove that he's ready for that.
What are your thoughts on Kocha, by the way? Because he's someone who has divided a lot of opinion within Feyenoord fans themselves, and I'm not someone who's convinced by him, but there are others who say that he needs to prove his doubters wrong, and they definitely will this season. Yeah, do you think he's a quality player? Do you think he deserves the interest he's getting?
I think he has it in him, but he just doesn't show it regular enough. He's
right.
Definition of hit and miss. I don't really know what he's one of these midfielders that doesn't score enough goals, and you'll have one or two flashes of quality on the pitch, but not enough to really say that he's going to be top class Premier League level midfielder at the moment. I think if he went to the Premier League right now, he would struggle. So I think that he does need another couple of years. He needs to step up this year and show that he is worth that place. And I'd say an Arsenal squad, because it's Arsenal that have been really linked to him the most. I think if he went there right now, he'd struggle big time, and he wouldn't be the player that they think that they're getting. So I think it's a big year for him, just like it is for a number of Feyenoord players who have aspirations like Sinisterra, Gustil. This is a huge year for him to prove that it's only a blip at Spartak Moscow, because before he went there, he was a Netherlands international for AZ, and then it went disastrous. And he's back. He's banging in the goals right now, but can he do it sustained over the season, win his place back in the Netherlands squad? And then, the back, Sanezia was one that was going into the summer for a big move, but it's not materialized yet. So he's another one that maybe has something to prove this year. And Justin Bilo in goal, for me, he probably is the best goalkeeper in the Eredivisie if you discount Onana. So it's a big year for him because he wants to be Netherlands number one. He has the quality to be Netherlands number one, and this is his year to showcase that.
Fair enough. And on to the next side, I think we'll talk about RZ Alkmaar next. A team that have been in contention for the league title for the last few years, but not obviously done so. And there was this season when COVID interrupted it, 1920, when they were tied top with Ajax, but only finished second on goal difference. And last season they were made to pay. They started the season with 5 or 6 draws in a row, and they were made to pay by that. They ended up winning 21 of their last 29 games of the season after drawing the first 5, and it looked like a good season then overall because they'd pulled together this run of form. But since then, of course, they've lost many key players. Stengs has gone, Svensson's gone, Boadu, Bizot, and Wijndal and Koopmeiners, there's question marks whether they're going to be going. They were the two I'd have thought that would have left most likely this summer, still to go, but most likely they will. Meaning that if there's 6 key players gone, how on earth are they going to replace that level of quality in the team? I think you may agree with Mike that I don't think that's going to happen. They won't be the same side this season, and that the players are trying to replace them with are either quite young and proven, or they just haven't been replaced, and they're expecting their rotation players to step up and become first-team players this season.
Yeah, I think that it does surprise me that Stengs and Boadu are both gone. I think that the clubs that went to are good moves for them. I think that they weren't level. Stengs especially wasn't ready for top level. I think that Nice is sort of his level at the moment after a disappointing campaign last year. But for me, AZ are losing these players, but they seem reluctant to spend any money. And the noise is coming out of the club are that they want to use their youth talents to replace some of these players. And it's the jury's out whether that'll work. They signed Evian with big expectations. He didn't really show anything last year, and now this is his year to step it up and show that he is the talent that they thought they were getting. And you've got Abu Kalal, who was back up last year and now needs to come into it and be a more permanent force in the first team in midfield. You've got Jordi Clasie as the replacement possibly for Koopmeiners, and you've got Reinders, another talented youngster. I think that at the back they've signed well. I think Sam Bukema was a good player for Go Ahead Eagles last year. I think him coming into this side is a really good signing. He's a young Dutch centre back who I think he's got a big future ahead of him. But the big question mark is who do you sign right back? Who do you sign in goal? There's a couple of Scandinavian players that have been linked today that look like they're coming in.
Yeah.
And then up front is Pavlidis the man to replace Boadu? Is he the one that's going to lead the line and score say 20 goals a season in this AZ side? I don't think so. I don't think he's that type of player for a big club. I think he did well at Willem II as being a big fish in a little pond, where now he's has to step up and prove that he is the level of this sort of team. I think that they need to go out and sign another forward, and whether they do that, I don't know if they will. So I think that they're waiting right now for Koopmeiners to go. I think that he's another one waiting for transfers and other clubs to go through and see if Atalanta come in with another bid for him. If they get, say, 20, 25 million for Koopmeiners, surely they then got to enter the market and sign a quality striker to lead the line. But yeah, I think that AZ, sadly, this year aren't going to be as strong as they were last year. I think it's going to be a transitional year for them. We'll see if youngsters like Tabuni, Evian, Abu Klahal, Reinders and Bukema can step it up, and maybe there'll be a force again next year if this side has another year in Eredivisie to develop, and then take it from next year, see if they can join the top 2 again. But this year I think is going to be a step too far for them.
Agreed on so many points there, Mike. You've also got players like Thijs Oosting coming through, and today in a friendly he was playing at left back. Wijndal is not around, and if Wijndal does go, who's going to replace him? I haven't heard anyone linked yet to replace him. Maxim Gullit is still far away from the first team. Sugawara is going to be replacing Svensson this season. Don't know whether that's the right level of quality or not. They're obviously going to be signing a Norwegian right back, but I don't think he'll be starting just yet. They're going to be signing a Danish goalkeeper. He may uphold some of the quality that Bizot had, but unlikely. Yeah, Jordi Clasie and Fredrik Mitchell are very good midfielders, but are they going to replace Koopmeiners? Don't think so. And then all of a sudden up front, they're going for this approach where Jesper Karlsson's got to really take on the mantle of scoring and assisting lots of goals a season. He's got to be the man who makes things happen around the box. And I think that he's a good player, not a great one. which could cause other problems if they're struggling in a game. They haven't got much to bring off the bench, and the players that got on the pitch are just going to be trying, and maybe they'll be good at creating chances, but will they be scoring them? I don't think so. They haven't got a ruthless striker to take these chances, which Boadu proved that he was towards in the second half of last season when he got his form back. And yeah, Pavlidis, good player. Again, I like him, but I don't think he's someone, again, who can be someone who's in a team who's challenging for the title. And that's why I've gone with AZ actually finishing 5th this season. I'm guessing you may have gone with them being in 4th, Mike?
Yeah, they're my 4th side. I think that, as you said, yeah, it's up front as well. And we've not mentioned Danny De Vit yet. So, I mean, he's another one that can get goals in the Eredivisie. Whether he gets played as he does in the Netherlands under-21s a bit further forward, we'll see. But I think that, yeah, this AZ side's lacking that star quality at the moment. There's no one that's going to put in a Calvin Stengs-esque defence splitting ball, or a Tunku Miners defence splitting ball from his own half, or you got somebody like Miners who could score free kicks, was lethal with penalties. There's just no one in this AZ side at the moment that's maybe stepping up to be that type of quality. So yeah, I think 4th is the best that they can aim for this season with another couple of signings. Again, we're talking about these sides with still 4 weeks to go in the transfer window, and I think a couple of them are going to be busy between now and then until the window shuts. So it's hard to say right now if this was the AZ squad going into the new season. If they still had Koop Miners and Vindal, I'd be a bit more optimistic, but I think they'll both go in. It depends if they then decide to replace them with good quality.
Hamza's commented saying there's no way that AZ will be the same. They lost far too many key players and will lose more. He thinks they'll be 5th, maybe 6th this season. A question asking why is it not in Dutch? Well, we're English, English and Scottish. We're British, and yeah, we could give it a go, but I don't think we'd be very good at it. And also, there are lots of people around the world that love listening to Dutch football things in English and can't speak Dutch. So that's why we do what we do. And there's a question from John. Oh, I picked the wrong one. Any thoughts for newly promoted teams? Don't know much about them. Well, John, and anyone else who's wondering the same thing, we're doing a separate podcast all about all of the other teams in the Eredivisie. We'll even touch on these 5 teams we're talking about today too. And we'll let you know where we'll think each team will finish and why this season. In a separate podcast. If you're watching live, it will be out tomorrow. If you're not, then keep your eye on YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud, and the podcast will be out on there. Of course, it'll be linked on the website too. So do have a look out for that. Now then, Vitesse are the team that I also want to talk about today. Even though there may not be many people's equations for winning the league, I think that it might surprise a few again this season. And I've got them to finish 3rd. And I'm guessing they're not in your top 4, Mike. There must be somewhere 5th or below. Are they 5th for you? Even below that?
6th for me, yeah.
Oh, wow.
I think that for me, watching them the other day against Dundalk, they were poor, and that's still with Bazour and Tanan off the bench. Them two, if they go as well, I'm not convinced that they're going to be that strong. I think that there's another side that we probably won't talk about on this podcast that could overtake them. But yeah, I think that again, it's another team that could do business in the next 3 weeks and strengthen their squad. But I think if Bazour goes, Tanan goes, they're lacking some quality in there, and yeah, I think that they won't reach the heights that they were last season anyway.
Interesting. Well, the game against Dundalk it's a one-off game. I think that they did create lots of chances in the first half, enough to blow away Dundalk, and they've not had the best preseason results. When Bazour was on that game, he was okay. He wasn't great. Obviously, he's got the future in his head at the moment, which is why I think once that's settled, if he goes or if he stays, then he'll be a better player. Now, Tanana, for me, has disappointed many Vitesse fans by returning to training overweight, and he wasn't ready at all to play that game against Dundalk. He was awful. He did that a few times last season where he wasn't at his best at all. I think he's got an attitude problem, whereas Bazour doesn't have an attitude problem anymore and does seem someone who's really focused on his football. Yeah, I mean, if I suppose they get the money from the transfer for Bazur, there's interest from Marseille, then it may well give them enough funds to go and buy someone of high quality to go down the middle of the park. They've made some replacement signings. I'll list a few of them. They've signed a couple of players from Switzerland. Von Most is a winger. They've signed another French winger. The goalkeeper, Schubert, is going to replace Pasveer. We'll see how good he is in time. The one that interests me, though, is Fredriksson. Baden Fredriksson. He's a striker who's only 21 years old, but he scored 18 goals in the Austrian Bundesliga last season. And for me, it's something they've been missing because they didn't have someone last season who could score the goals to get them out of a tricky situation in a game. Some games they drew at home because they didn't have the quality to just see out the game and nick a win, which players like Tanana could do. Openda, they still have another season from him. Something that Openda could do, but he didn't do consistently throughout the season. Darfalau as well is again another one of those players, wasn't consistent enough throughout the season. So that's why I think someone like Fredriksson, if you can take well to the Eredivisie, which strikers can tend to do because of the attacking nature of the league, he can make the difference. But without talking too much about them, because I sense that you don't think they'll be anywhere near the top 3-4 this season, Mike, then that might just be my hot take, and it might not be other people's hot take. But I think they might improve again under Thomas Lech because he's a great coach. And you've got young players like Millian Manhoef who are going to accelerate the development again this season. I think it would be a good season for them. But the season is long. It's a year long. And whether they're in Europe or not, I think they're going to have a good year. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, might be completely wrong, but I think that last year their star quality was from Bazur and Tanana, who I agree is turned up in awful condition and should be ashamed, really, of that because he wants to transfer. But how's he going to get transfer if he turns up to pre-season training like that? But we'll see if he gets that. And Broya was a good striker for them. I think that if they could have got him back, I know he possibly might be even staying at Chelsea because he's done well in pre-season, so that probably won't be a possibility. But I think that if he had stayed injury-free and came back to Vitesse, he would have been a great signing for him. But we'll see how the striker they've got from Juventus does. If he does well, then yeah, they could be a good side again. But I think that lacking that star quality of Tanana and Bazur, if they do go, might be a bit too much for them. But I might be wrong. But I think that there's another side who will overtake them, and that'll be Utrecht. I think they'll have a good season, but we can talk about them in the next podcast. I don't think that either of these sides are really title contenders, but I think that in the battle for Europe, there'll be quite a few sides going for the top 8 spaces.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that in our full season preview. We might be watching this and the full season preview is already out. If so, go and check it out on our website, on YouTube, and it will be there for you, ready to go. Or if you're watching on live, you've got to wait another day, and you'll soon hear who you think will be relegated, who we think will be in contention for Europe. With the Europa Conference League now around, with more spots available to compete for in Europe, I think that's an exciting thing for some Dutch sides that are more towards a mid-table end. But just to put up a few more comments of yours on screen, Skill TV thinks that Ajax will be top, PSV second, AZ third, Feyenoord fourth, Vitesse fifth, and Utrecht sixth. If you're watching along not live, please do leave your comments in who you think your top teams will be this season, who's going to be the top 3, 4, who's going to win the league. Let us know. Let us know why too if you've got time to drop us a comment. Ogre thinks that Hedenveen may be a surprise, the side that could surprise this season. We'll soon see about that. I'm not so sure myself, and I'll let you know why in our full season preview. But Mike, just some last comments from you then about the Eredivisie this season, the title race in particular. It is going to be the top 2, isn't it? Ajax and PSV, and we've watched the Eredivisie long enough now to try and predict something like that, unless someone like Feyenoord or Vitesse could come out of nowhere and challenge top 2.
Yeah, going into the season, I think that PSV and Ajax on paper are the strongest in their performances. Well, PSV's performances so far in the season and Ajax have looked good in friendlies until they got that game against PSV. But yeah, I think it's going to be a top 2, whether somebody like Feyenoord or AZ can make that that jump up. I'm doubtful, but I think if either of them are going to, it'll be Feyenoord if now a couple of signings have the chance, but it would take Ajax and PSV dropping the ball because of their. Say PSV get to the Champions League group stages and Ajax and PSV take their eye off the league a little bit, then Feyenoord maybe have a chance. But I think Feyenoord are lacking that real star quality up front to really challenge for a whole season. I think that Feyenoord's games against Ajax and PSV will be interesting. I think they can compete, but I don't think they can compete for the title. I think that a cup win and a good run in Europe would be a good season for Feyenoord, whereas Ajax and PSV are going to go hell for leather for the title, and I think it's going to be a great watch.
That's a great way to end, Mike. I think it's been a great watch too. A full season Eredivisie football ahead, and it's very exciting. Who do you think is going to win the league? Comment below who you think, and stick around for a full season preview. If you're watching this one first, maybe you watch this one second, who knows? Let us know who you think will win the league. Leave a like if you've enjoyed this extra long title race preview, and subscribe if you're new, of course, if you're watching this on YouTube. More to come from us very soon. Bye for now.